The Christian in complete armor. Ephesians 6, verse 12, chapter 5. Of the time when, the place where, and the subjects whom Satan rules, against the rulers of the darkness of this world. These words contain the third branch of the description of the great enemy, the devil, and they hold forth the proper seat of his empire with a threefold boundary. He is not Lord over all, that is the incommunicable title of God, but a ruler of the darkness of this world, where the time, place, and subjects of his empire are stinted. Number 1, the time when this prince hath his rule in this world, that is now, not hereafter. Number 2, the place where he rules in this world, that is, here below, not in heaven. Number 3, the subjects or persons whom he rules, not all in this lower world neither. They are wrapped up in these words, the darkness of this world. First, of the first boundary, section 1, number 1, the time when he rules. So this word, world, may be taken in the text for that little spot of time, which, like an inconsiderable parenthesis, is clasped in on either side with vast eternity, called sometimes the present world. Timothy chapter 2, verse 12. On this stage of time, this mock king acts the part of a prince. But when Christ comes to take down this scaffold at the end of this world, then he shall be degraded, his crown taken off, his sword broken over his head, and he hissed off with scorn and shame. Yea, of a prince become a close prisoner in hell. No more than shall he infest the saints, no, nor rule the wicked, but he with them, and they with him, shall lie under the immediate execution of God's wrath. For this very end Christ hath his patent and commission, which he will not give up till he shall have put down all rule. 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verses 24 and 25. Then, and not till then, will he deliver up his economical kingdom to his Father, when he shall put down all rule. For he must reign till he hath put all enemies under his feet. Satan is cast already. His doom is passed upon him, as Adam's was upon his first sin. But full execution is stayed till the end of the world. The devil knows it. It is an article in his creed, which made him trembling ask Christ why he came to torment him before his time. Use 1. First, this brings ill news to the wicked. Your prince cannot long sit in his throne. Sinners at present have a merry time of it. If it would hold, they rejoice, while Christ's disciples weep and mourn. They rustle in their silks, while the saints goes in his rags. Princes are not more careful to oblige their courtiers with pensions and preferments than the devil is to gratify his followers. He hath his rewards also. All this will I give thee. Am not I able to promote thee? Saith Balak to Balaam. Oh, it is strange, and yet not strange, considering the degeneracy of man's nature, to see how Satan carries sinners after him with this golden hook. Let him but present such a bait as honor, pep, or pleasure, and their hearts skip after it as a dog would at a crust. He makes them sin for a morsel of bread. Oh, the naughty heart of man loves the wages of unrighteousness, which the devil promises so dearly that it fears not the dreadful wages which the great God threatens. As sometimes you shall see a spaniel so greedy of a bone that he will leap into the very river for it, if you throw it thither. And by that time he comes with much ado thither. It is sunk, and he gets nothing but a mouthful of water for his pains. Thus sinners will catch at their desired pleasures, honors, and profits, swimming though the very threatenings of the word to them. Oftentimes they lose even what they grasp for. Thus God kept Balaam, as Balak told him, from honor. Numbers chapter 24, verse 11. But, however they speed here, they are sure to lose themselves everlastingly without repentancy. They that are resolved, they will have the these things are the men that fall into the devil's snare, and are led into those foolish and hurtful lusts, which will drown them in destruction and perdition. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 9. O poor sinners, were it not wisdom before you truck with the devil to inquire what title he can give you to these goodly vanities? Will he settle them as a free estate upon you? Can he secure your bargain and keep you from the suits of law? Or is he able to put 2 lives into the purchase, that when you die you may not be left destitute in another world? Alas, poor wretches, you shall ere long see what a cheat he hath put on you, from whom you are like to have naught but cavet emptor. Let the buyer look to that. Yea, that great prince that is so bragged to tell what he will give you must down himself, and a sad prince must needs make a sad court. Oh, what howling will there be then of Satan and his vassals together! Oh, but saith the sinner, the pleasures and honors sin and Satan offer are present, and that which Christ promises we must stay for. This indeed is that which takes the most. Demas, saith Paul, forsook me, having loved this present world. 2 Timothy 4, verse 10. It is present indeed, sinners, for you cannot say it will be yours the next moment. Your present happiness is going, and the saints through future is coming never to go. And who, for a gulp of pottage and sensual enjoyments at present, would part with a reversion of such a kingdom, except thou art of his mind, who thought he had nothing but what he had swallowed down his throat, which Cicero could say was more fit to be right on an ox's grave than on a man's. Vile wretch, what thinketh it is not better to deal with God for time than the devil for ready pay? But oh, what a desperate madness it is for sinners then, who to endure a little hardship here, but entail on themselves the eternal wrath of God hereafter for the short feast and running banquet their lust entertain them herewithal, which often is not a joy that lasts an hour. Use 2. Secondly, let this encourage thee, O Christian, if thy conflict with Satan, the skirmish may be sharp, but it cannot be long. Let him tempt thee, and his wicked instruments trounce thee. It is but a little while, and thou shalt be rid of both their evil neighborhoods. The cloud which it drops is rolling over thy head, and then comes a fair weather and eternal sunshine of glory. Canst thou not watch with Christ 1 hour or 2? Keep the field a few days. If yield, thou art undone forever. Persevere but until the battle be over, and thine enemy shall never rally more. Bid faith look through the keyhole of the promise, and tell thee what it sees there laid up for him that overcomes. Bid it listen and tell thee whether it cannot hear the shouts of those crowned saints, as of those that are dividing the spoil, and receiving the reward of all their services and sufferings here on earth. And dost thou stand on the other side, afraid to wet thy foot with those sufferings and temptations, which like a little splash of water run between thee and glory? Section 2. Secondly, the devil's empire is confined to place as well as time. He is the ruler of this lower world, not of the heavenlies. The highest the devil can go is the air, called the prince thereof, as being the utmost marches of his empire. He hath nothing to do with the upper world. Heaven fears no devil, and therefore its gates stand always open. Never durst this fiend look into the holy place, since he was first expelled, but ranges to and fro here below, as a vagabond creature, excommunicated the presence of God, doing what mischief he can to saints on their way to heaven. But is not this matter of great joy, that Satan hath no power there where the saints' happiness lies? What hast thou, Christian, which thou needest value that is not there? Thy Christ is there, and if thou lovest him, thy heart also, which lives in the bosom of its beloved. Thy friends and kindred in Christ are there, or expected, with whom thou shalt have a happy meeting in thy Father's house, notwithstanding the snare of Tabor, the plots of Satan which lie in the way. O friends,
get a title to that kingdom, and you are above the flight of this kite. This made Job a happy man indeed, who when the devil had plundered him to his skin, and worried him almost out of that too, could then vouch Christ in the face of death and devils to be his Redeemer, whom he should with those eyes that now stood full with greenish tears behold, and that for himself as his own portion. It is sad with him indeed, who is robbed of all he is worth at once, but this can never be said of a saint. The devil took away Job's purse, as I may say, which put him into some straits, but he had a God in heaven that put him into stock again. Some spending money thou hast at present in thy purse, in the activity of thy faith, the evidence of thy sonship, and comfort flowing from the same, enlargement in duty and the like, which Satan may for a time disturb, yea, deprive thee of, but he cannot blot thy name out of the book of life. He cannot annul thy faith, make void thy relation, dry up thy comfort in the spring, though he may dam up the stream, nor hinder thee a happy issue of thy whole war with sin, though he may worst thee in a private skirmish. These all are kept in heaven among God's own crown jewels, who is said to keep us by his power through faith unto salvation. Section 3. The third boundary of the devil's principality is in regard of his subjects, and they are described here to be the darkness of this world, that is, such as are in darkness. This word is used sometimes to express the desolate condition of a creature in some great distress. Isaiah chapter 50. He that walks in darkness and sees no light, sometimes to express the nature of all sin. So Ephesians chapter 5 verse 1. Sin is called the work of darkness, sometimes the particular sin of ignorancy, often set out by the darkness of the night, blindness of the eye. All these I conceive may be meant, but chiefly the latter. For there Satan makes a foul stir in the soul, that is, in the darkness of sorrow, whether it be from outward crosses or inward desertions. Yet if the creature be not in the darkness of sin at the same time, though he may disturb his peace as an enemy, yet cannot be said to rule as a prince. Sin only sets Satan in the throne, so that I shall take the words in the two later interpretations. First, for the darkness of sin in general. Secondly, for the darkness of ignorancy in special. And the sense will be that the devil's rule is over those that are in a state of sin and ignorancy, not over those who are sinful or ignorant. So he would take hold of saints as well as others, but over those who are in a state of sin, which is set out by the abstract ruler of the darkness, the more to express the fullness of the sin and ignorancy that possesses Satan's slaves, and the notes will be two. First, every soul in a state of sin is under the rule of Satan. Secondly, ignorancy, above other things, enslaves the soul to Satan, and therefore all sins are set out by that which chiefly expresses this, viz., darkness. Doctrine. Every soul in a state of sin is under the rule of Satan, under which point these two things must be inquired. First, the reason why sin is set out by darkness. Secondly, how everyone in such a state appears to be under the devil's rule. For the first, Satan may be called darkness because the spring and common cause of sin in man is darkness. The external cause, Satan, who is the great promoter of it, he is a cursed spirit held in chains of darkness. The internal is the blindness and darkness of the soul. We may say when any one sins, he knows not what, as Christ said of his murderers. Did the creature know the worth of the soul, which he now sells for a song, the glorious ample nature of God and his holy ways, the matchless love of God in Christ, the poisonous nature of sin, and all these not, by a sudden beam darted into the window at a sermon, and gone again like a flash of lightning, but as an abiding light. This would spoil the devil's market, and poor creatures would not readily take this toad into their bosom. Sin goes in a disguise, and so is welcome. Secondly, it is darkness because it brings darkness into the soul, and that naturally and judiciously. First, naturally, there is a noxious quality in sin offensive to the understanding, which is to the soul what the eye and palate are to the body. It discerns things, and distinguishes true from false. As the eye white from black, it trieth words as the mouth tasteth meats. Now as there are some things bad for the sight, and others bad for the palate, vitiating it, so that it should not know sweet from bitter. So here sin besoughts the creature, and makes it injudicious, that he who could see such a practice absurd and base in others before, when once he had drank of this enchanting cup himself, as one that hath lost his understanding, is maddened by it himself, not able now to see the evil of it, or use his reason against it. Thus Saul, before he had debauched his conscience, thought the which worthy of death. But after he had trodden his conscience hard with other foul sins, went to ask counsel of one himself. Again, sin brings darkness statistically. Such have been threatened, whose ear God hath been trying to open and instruct, and have run out of God's school into the devil's by rebelling against light, that they shall die without knowledge. Job 36, verse 10 and through 12. What, should the candle burn waste, when the creature hath more mind to play than work? Thirdly, sin runs into darkness. Impostors bring in their damnable heresies privily, like those who sell bad ware, loath to come to the market where the standard tries all, but put it off in secret. So in moral wickedness, sinners like beasts go out in the night for their prey, loath to be seen, afraid to come where they should be found out. Nothing more terrible to sinners than the light of truth. John chapter 3, verse 19. Because their deeds are evil. Felix was so nettled with what Paul spake that he could not sit out the sermon, but runs away in haste and adjures the hearing of Paul till a convenient season. But he never could find one. The sun is not more troublesome in hot countries than truth is to those who sit under the powerful preaching of it. And therefore, as those seldom come abroad in the heat of the day, when they must have their devices over their heads to screen them from the sun, so sinners shun as much as may be the preaching of the word. But if they must go to keep in with their relations, or for other carnal advantages, they, if possible, will keep off the power of truth, either by sleeping the sermon away or prating it about with any foolish imagination which Satan sends to bear them company and chat with them at such a time, or by choosing such a cool preacher to sit under, whose toothless discourse shall rather flatter than trouble, rather tickle their fancy than prick their consciences. And then their sore eyes can look upon the light. They dare handle and look on the sword with a delight, when in a rich scabbard who would run away to see it drawn. Fourthly, sin is darkness with its uncomfortableness, and that in a threefold respect. First, darkness is uncomfortable as it shuts out of all employment. What could the Egyptians do under the plague of darkness but sit still? And this, to an active spirit, is trouble enough. Thus, in a state of sin, man is an unserviceable creature. He can do his God no service acceptably, spoils everything he takes his hand, like one running up and down in a shop with windows shut, who doth nothing right. It may be right on the grave of every sinner who lives and dies in that state. Here lies the man that never did God an hour's work in all his life. Secondly, darkness is uncomfortable in point of enjoyment. Be there ever such rare pictures in the room, if dark, who is the better? A soul in a state of sin may possess much, but enjoys nothing. This is a sore evil, and little thought of. One thought of its state of enmity to God would drop bitterness into every cup. All he hath smells of hellfire, and a man at a rich feast would enjoy it sure, but little, if he smelt fire ready to burn his house and himself. Thirdly, darkness fills with terrors. Fears in the night are most dreadful. A state of sin is a state of fear. Men that owe much have no quiet, but when they are asleep, and not then either, the cares and fears of the day sink so deep as make their rest troublesome and unquiet in the night. The wicked hath no peace, but when his conscience sleeps, and that sleeps but slightly, awakening often with sick fits of terror. when he hath most prosperity. He is scared like a flock of birds in a cornfield, at every piece going off. He eats in fear and drinks in fear. When afflicted, he expects worse behind, and knows not what this cloud may spread to, and where it may lay him. Whether in hell or not, he knows not, and therefore trembles, as one in the dark, not knowing but to his next step may be into the pit. Fifthly, sin leads to utter darkness. Utter darkness is darkness to the utmost, sin in its full height, and wrath in its full heat together, both universal, both eternal. Here is some mixture, peace and trouble, pain and ease, sin and thoughts of repenting, sin and hopes of pardon. There the fire of wrath shall burn without slacking, and sin run parallel with torment. Hellbirds are no challengings. Their torments make them sin, and their sin feeds their torment, both unquenchable, one being fuel to another. Secondly, let us look and see how it appears that such as are under a state of sin are under the rule of Satan. Sinners are called the children of the devil, 1 John chapter 3, verse 10. And who rules the child but the father? They are slaves who rules the slaves but the master. They are the very mansion house of the devil. Where hath a man command but in his own house? I will go to my house, Matthew 12:44. As if the devil had said, I have walked among the saints of God to and fro, knocking at this door and that, none will bid me welcome. I can find no rest. Well, I know where I may be bold. I'll even go to my own house, and there I am sure to rule the roast without control. And when he comes, he finds it empty, swept, and garnished. That is, all ready for his entertainment. Servants make the house trim and handsome against their master comes home, especially when he brings guests with him, as here the devil brings 7 more. Look to the sinner, there is nothing he is or hath, but the devil hath dominion over it. He rules the whole man, their minds, blinding them. All the sinner's apprehension of things are shaped by Satan. He looks on sin with the devil's spectacles. He reads the word, which the devil's comment. He sees nothing in its native colors, but is under a continual delusion. The very wisdom of a wicked man is said to be devilish, James 3:15, or devil-like, because taught by the devil, and also such as the devil's is, wise only to do evil. He commands their wills, though not to force them, yet effectually to draw them. His work, saith Christ, ye will do. Ye are resolved on your way. The devil hath got your hearts. In him ye will obey. And therefore, when Christ comes to recover his throne, he finds the soul in an uproar, as Ephesus at Paul's sermon, crying him down and Diana up. We will not have this man to reign over us. What is the Almighty that we should serve him? He rules over all their members. They are called weapons of unrighteousness, all at the devil's service, as all the arms of a kingdom, to defend the prince against any that shall invade. The head to plot, the hand to act, the feet swift to carry the body up and down about his service. He rules over all that he hath. Let God come in, a poor member, and beseech him to lend him a penny, or bestow a morsel to refresh his craving heart. And the covetous wretch's hand of charity is withered, that he cannot stretch it forth, but let Satan call, and his purse flies open, and his heart also. Nabal, that could not spare a few fragments for David and his followers, could make a feast like a prince to satisfy his own lust of gluttony and drunkenness. He commands their time when God calls to duty, to pray, to hear. No time all the week to be spared for that. But if the sinner hears there is a merry meeting, a knock of good fellows at the alehouse, all is thrown aside to wait on his Lord and Master, calling left at 6s and 7s, yea, wife and children crying, it may be starving, while the wretch is pouring out their very blood, and wasting their livelihood at the foot of his lust. The sinner is in the bond of iniquity, and being bound he must obey. He is said to go after his lust as the fool to the stocks. Proverbs 7, verse 22. The pinioned malefactor can as soon untie his own arms and legs, and so run from his keeper as he from his lust. They are servants, and their members instruments of sin, even as the workman takes up his axe, and it resists not, so does Satan dispose of them, except God saith nay. See here the deplorable condition of everyone in a state of sin. He is under the rule of Satan and government of hell. What tongue can utter, what heart can conceive the misery of this state? It was a dismal day which Christ foretold, Matthew chapter 24, when the abomination of desolation shall be seen, standing in the holy place. Then saith Christ, let him that is in Judah flee into the mountains. But what was that to this? They are but men, though abominable, these devils. They did but stand in the material temple, and defile and deface that. But these display their banners in the souls of men, pollute that throne, which is more gracious than the material heaven itself, made for God alone to sit in. They exercise their cruelty at furthest on the bodies of men, killing and torturing them. Here is the precious souls of men are destroyed. When David would curse to purpose the enemies of God, he prays that Satan may be at their right hand. It is strange sinners should no more tremble at this, who, should they but see their swine or beasts bewitched and possessed of the devil, run headlong into the sea, would cry out as half undone. And is not one soul worth more than all these? What a plague it is to have Satan possess thy heart and spirit, hurrying thee in the fury of thy lust to perdition. O poor man, what a sad change hast thou made, thou who wouldest not sit under the meek and peaceable government of God. Thy rightful Lord are paid for thy rebellion against him in the cruelty of this tyrant, who writes all his laws in the blood of his subjects. And why will you sit any longer, O sinners, under the shadow of this bramble, from which you can expect nothing but eternal fire to come at last and devour you? Behold, Christ is in the field, sent of God to recover his right and your liberty. His royal standard is pitched in the gospel, and proclamation made, that if any poor sinners, weary of the devil's government, and heavy laden with the miserable chains of his spiritual bondage, so as these irons of his sins enter into his very soul to afflict it with the sense of them, shall thus come and repair to Christ, he shall have protection from God's justice, the devil's wrath, in sin's dominion. In a word, he shall have rest, and that glorious. Matthew chapter 11, verse 28, Isaiah verse 11, verse 10. Usually when a people have been ground with the opposition of some bloody tyrant, they are apt enough to long for a change and to listen to any overture that gives them hope of liberty, though reached by the hand of a stranger, who may prove as bad as the other. Yet bondage is so grievous that people desire to change, as sick men in their beds, though they find little ease thereby. When, then, should deliverance be unwelcome to you sinners? Deliverance brought, not by a stranger whom you need fear, what his design is upon you, but your near kinsman in blood, who cannot mean you ill, but he must first hate his own flesh? And whoever did that? To be sure, not he, who though he took part of your flesh, that he might have the right of being our Redeemer, yet would have no kindred with us in the sinfulness of our nature. Hebrews chapter 2, verse 14 and 15. And it is sin that makes us cruel, yea, to our own flesh. What can you expect from him but pure mercy, who is himself pure? They are the mercies of the wicked, which are cruel. Hebrews chapter 4, verse 15. Believe it, Christ counts it his honor that he is king of a willing people and not of slaves. He comes to make you free, not to bring you into bondage, to make you kings, not vessels. None gave Christ an evil word but those who never were his subjects. Inquire but of those who have tried both Satan's service and Christ's. They are best able to resolve you what they are. You see, when a soul comes over from Satan's quarters unto Christ, and has but once the experience of that sweetness which is in his